So hello everyone and welcome along to our live webinar. And this time we are going to speak about cash flow and how is the best way to track your income and expenses for each property, and then get a high level overview for the entire portfolio or sub-segments of your portfolio. If you have questions, feel free to put them on the chat, and Sarel from our team will answer, or if it's related to a topic that I'm speaking on, I can answer right away and demo the answer. And in the end, we'll have a session for questions and answers as well. So let's start with the agenda. So we will start with how you can set up a property and tenancy details. So basically, this is the baseline. In order to start tracking the cash flow of the property, you need to define the property. We discussed it in our previous webinar, so we just briefly show how you can do it. Then I will show you how you can define rent payments schedule. So after you create a tenant and tenancy, the platform will create for you a payments schedule. And by that, you can start tracking your rent collection. We'll discuss how you can set up your cash flow history. So if you want to maintain historical data for some of your properties, you can do it. There are various ways to do it, and I will showcase this as well. Then we'll show you how you can link your bank account / accounts. So if you have more than one bank account with transactions relatively to your properties, you can also link all of them to Lendlord and get a live feed of your transactions. Then we will discuss how you can manage the transactions, how you can split transactions. For instance, if you get just the net rental income from your managing agent and you want to split it to 2 different transactions. We can also discuss overpayments. So if received a late payment from a tenant, how you can manage it. And if you received tenants in 2 batches, how you can manage it as well. I will show you how you can set up and redefine the categories of the expenses and income. And in the end, we will demo how you can review the profit and loss statement. And in the end of the webinar, we'll have a session for questions and answers. So let's start with the first topic, how to set up property and tenancy details. Okay, so for this webinar, we'll focus on the manage functionality of the platform. I think that in the previous webinar, I showed you that we have other parts of the platform, the invest, that can help you source properties, analyze property deals, and get information about postcodes. And we have the finance side of the platform that can help you obtain finance, bridging, or perform mortgage search based on your profile. But in this webinar, we are focusing on the manage side, how you can manage your properties and how you can manage your cash flow. So let's start with the first thing you need to do is to add a property. Click edit property, and I think this is the chance to show you like the new edit menu. So for existing users that get used to the right sidebar, so now it's been replaced with this window. It's much easier to navigate between the different areas of the property details. And it's also the way to add new property. So we will start with the address. I put the purchase price, the current property value. I can use this API to estimate just an indication. It's not fully accurate. So I can use this value. Let's say that I purchased this property in 2017 because I want to get some historical data. Rental income is 2,200. We show, like we discussed, how you can set up all the other details in the previous webinar, so we'll not dig into that, but I will do just the mortgage part of the property. So let's put mortgage balance of 100K, interest only, say current rate 4.5. And just for the case, because I want to show you how you can set up cash flow history, I will also put landlord insurance. Let's say that I'm paying £14 monthly. Click save. Platform will create for me a new property. And then the next thing is to go to add a tenant or more than one tenant to this property. And I will do it in a different account.
Actually got something that was on the radio and touring all the things.
Locate and use. Okay, thanks. All right. So in order to add tenant and a tenancy, I will go to my tenants page. Click add tenant, with the name, contact details, and the tenancy. So I will attach this tenancy to the property that we just defined. Let's define the tenancy period. Let's say it started in August and ending in, let's do it like in December, just for the example. The rent payment, it's monthly, starting on August 1st. I will mark it as a rolling tenancy. It means that after the end date, the platform will create payment rows for this tenancy even after the end date. And I can also set rent review dates, so I will get alerts to review the rent for this specific tenancy. Let's click save. Now, basically, let me see if I forgot something. 1 second. Let me just redefine it, sorry. Okay, it looks like we have a problem. 1 second, I will recreate the payment schedule. All right, so after I create the tenancy, the platform will create the payment schedule for me. So let's take it back to August till December. So at this point, I can decide if I'm happy with this payment schedule, or if I agreed something else with my tenants, I can just click edit. For instance, I'm expecting this payment to be paid on the 6th, so I can change it. I can also play with the amounts. So after you create tenant, then you should review the payment schedule, make sure that all the payments are there for the next upcoming month. And also, if the tenancy has started before you enter the data to Lendlord, you can also put all the historical payments and then track them afterwards, either from here by clicking edit, put the pay dates. Then you need to click on the copy payment to your profit and loss. So it will be tracked on the profit and loss statement. So this is one option how you can track the rent collection, but the best practice is to do it from the transactions page. So on the transactions page, you will receive live feed from your bank account if you link your bank account, or you can import CSV file with income and expenses, or you can add transactions manually. So I would manage all my transactions from the transactions page, because it will keep it more in order, and I will show you in a sec how is the best way to do it. But you know what? Let's take the September payment and track it. And track it from the transactions page. So I'm expecting this to be paid on September 6th. Let me go to transactions page so I can click add transaction. Let's say that he paid it in 2 days delay. Income, rent. Okay. I need to select the property, the amount, category, and I need to allocate it to the tenant. So I'm allocating to James A the payment that should be paid on September 6th. I click save and allocate. Then the row will be colored in green. So this means that this transaction was allocated. So it will appear on my payment schedule, and it will appear also on my profit and loss statement. So let's start with reviewing it on the payment schedule. So you can see that I track the transaction from the transactions page, and I can see the result now on the payment schedule. So I see that this payment in September was made on September 8th, 2 days delay. And I tracked it from the transactions page. Then if I go to the profit and loss, I will select this property, go to September, and I can see that I have a James A rent. This is something I did before the webinar. I set up cash flow history. I will show you in a sec how is the best way to do it. I will just delete it from here. So we discussed basically how you can review your payment schedule and how you can track transactions. Now let's discuss the cash flow history. So let's say that you started to use Lendlord now, but you purchased the property 5 years ago and you want to see the historical transactions, or at least like to see the trend of the cash flow in the last 5 years. So the best way to do it is, just for the example, let's define property quickly. The new pop-up that I showed was, it's like still like in a test mode. So now I'm using the production environment. So let's say that I purchased this property in 2018. Purchase price was $250. I estimate it now 320. This is the rental income. And let's say that the current mortgage balance is 20. The rate is 4. And I need a repayment method. Interest only. This is my monthly payment. And I will also add the insurance. Okay, so I added this new property. Now, when I go to the profit and loss page, I will get this pop-up to define the cash flow history. And I can do it basically in 3 different ways. So one, I can link my bank account that we will show in 2 minutes how you can do it. Or you can link, so if you use Xero, this is currently the only accounting software that we support. So if you use Xero to maintain your accounting and reports, you can link Xero to Lendlord to get all the reconciled transactions. And another way, it's less accurate probably, is to define recurring income and expenses. So you can click proceed. And okay, so this is for not the new property that we defined. So let me close this. I can do the same from the action, set up history, and then I can select the property that I want to set up history for. So the defaults will be from the purchase date until today. You will see their current rental income. So what I enter on my portfolio basically is the current status. But let's say that the rent was different when I purchased the property. So I can click on add expense income period. I can put rental monthly income. Let's say it was 2,800 and it started in November 18 until November 20. So I will change this to December 20. So basically the rental monthly income was 2,800 until 2020, and then it went up until 2022. Can do it also for the expenses. And I can also add other income, other expenses that I had in the past, and then click proceed. And let's select just this property. You will see that the platform created historical data for this property. Now you can go month by month. Just click on the bar on the monthly income, click edit, and then you can add specific income you had for this property in this month. Then you can click on the expenses, click again on edit, and add expenses. So, so this is like another way you can do it. But the best practice is basically to do it from either from a file, if you want to put all the historical data of income and expense transactions, or link in your bank account. Another important thing is the purchase costs. So for each property, if you click edit on the right sidebar, you'll see the purchase price. So this basically, the platform takes it from the data that you put on my portfolio. But if you had any other capital expenses when purchasing the property, this is the place to add them. And there are times that you will decide to put it on the ongoing cash flow of the property and not as a capital expense. But basically you can put here with different dates. So if I, for instance, did some refurbishment to the property when I just purchased it, I can edit here. Just I'm not on the same property, 1 second. And you can see that the purchase cost went up. And this will impact the cash investment based on the original mortgage. Furnishing, legal fees that I paid, stamp duty. Basically, you can own all of the capital expenses. It will impact the cash investment, and it will impact also the cash on cash calculation on the cash investment. All right, so now let's go to the next topic, how to link my bank accounts or my accounting software or end. So in terms of linking bank accounts, this is one of the features. We have minimal set of features on our premium plan. And linking your bank account is one of them. And in order to do it, you will need to subscribe, but you can get a 14-day free trial. So you can use it and see if it works for you or not before you need to put your credit card details. And the price is £15 per month on a monthly basis. And it goes down to £12 if you pay for a year. And I will show you how it works. So from the transactions page, click on link account. You receive the message of starting your free trial. Click next. Then you can decide if you want to link directly your bank accounts or you want to link Xero in case this is your accounting software. And then all the reconciled transactions will be imported to Lendlord every 24 hours. And if it's bank account, your transactions from the bank account will be retrieved to Lendlord every 24 hours. So I click link bank account. We use Plaid as our main provider. Plaid is authorized by the FCA to implement the open banking. And the Lendlord got the approval from the FCA to be an agent of Plaid. All the connection is fully secured. We don't have any access to your credentials. And the only thing that Lendlord gets is a read-only access. So basically we get, using Plaid API, the transactions, the income and expenses. No one can see them, just you as the users on your account in order to allocate them to your properties. So I click continue. Then I will see the list of, they should support almost all UK banks, and you can use the search to search for a specific bank. Then in few clicks, you will be redirected to your bank website. This is of course a test environment. You need to select the account that you want to retrieve transactions from. Confirm. And the connection now is being made. Click continue. And then on Lendlord, you will receive this pop-up. And basically, it will explain you that every 24 hours, starting this point, Lendlord will retrieve the transactions for you. Click retrieve your initial transactions. So if you want to retrieve historical transactions, you can do it at this point. Just take the date picker to an historical date. But best practice is just to start with 1 month backwards, and then you have a button retrieve transactions from the transactions page. So if you want to retrieve other historical data, you can do it in batches, because if you have many transactions, perhaps it's easier to track them in batches until you set up the entire historical data. So let's retrieve it from October 18. So you can see, like in the background, I have the transactions on the transactions page, but I can also use this wizard. And this wizard will appear every time you log into Lendlord and there are new transactions to allocate. So this wizard is like an easy way to allocate your income and expense transactions. This, of course, it's a fake account or fake data. You just need to select the property. Then you need to decide if it's a one-time payment or a recurring transaction. One-time payment, it's something that literally it's like paid to you like once, and you're not expecting to see this expense next month. Then you just need to select the property and the category. And if it's a purchase cost, for instance, if it's related to a capital expense, you can mark it as an purchase cost, and then it will be allocated under your purchase cost for this property. Then click allocate. It will be allocated. You can see like in the background, it's colored now in green, and then you will get the new one. Again, you need to select the property. For instance, Starbucks, I would put entire portfolio. What is entire portfolio? It's a generic entity that, for instance, accounting fees, like if you have one account and you manage 4 properties and you don't want to allocate the accounting fees to one, you can use the entire portfolio entity, or you can use the split button. And the next topic, I will show you how you can basically use the split. And then you can split a transaction and allocate each part to separate, like a different property. Click allocate. Just for, it's not that I'm buying McDonald's every month, but just for the use case, I will select recurring transaction. So if I select recurring transaction, then I'm expecting to see this expense next month as well. And the platform will remember that I allocated this to this property and this category. And let's say that you don't find a category that you need, you can add category. Say, you can select the color, click save, and allocate it. Then you got an income. Let's say it's a rent. Then it's a recurring transaction. You can allocate it to this tenant. Let's say that he paid before time, like day before the payment of November. So you can allocate it to this payment, and then it will be visible on your payment schedule and your profit and loss. And I will put it as a category rent. Click allocate, and then I should get the next one. If you're not sure, if you don't want to handle it now, you can use this button, handle it later, and then it will remain on your transactions page for afterwards. So you can basically deal with that. You don't have to use this wizard, but it's a nice way, an easy way to allocate your transactions, and you can do the same from here. So just click on the edit, select the property, and the category, click save and allocate, and then decide if it's a one-time or recurring. So this was how you can link your bank account, retrieve transactions. One thing, so if you can still use, you can always use the retrieve transactions pop-up. So if you have more than one bank account, you will need to select the bank account that you want to retrieve transactions from, and then select the period. So for instance, if we just retrieve until starting since October 18, I can select now, let's say September 19 to October 17, and click retrieve. And then I retrieve 6 new transactions. So they will be now on the background on my transactions page. And again, I can use this wizard or just close this window and allocate everything from here. It's important to know that just when you see the green color, the transaction was allocated on your profit and loss, and on the reports, for instance, the P&L report, it's also tracked just once you, let's say year to date, just after you allocate, you see it green, it will be tracked on your profit and loss reports, and also on the profit and loss page. So you can see it also with visibility. All right, let's go to the next topic. Do we have some questions? Perhaps we can answer if there are.
We had some. I answered it during when we were explaining. Just can you show how to delete transactions that you retrieved if there's not? Yeah.
So it's a good question. So how you can delete transactions? There are two options. Let's say that I allocated this transaction to this property by mistake. Yeah, test environment. Let me just switch to the production environment. Okay. I will create one quickly. Let's say I add this expense. Okay, so I allocated this expense to this property and I'm not happy, it was by mistake. You can just always click on revert. And then allocate it again. I click edit, choose a different property and allocate the transaction. So this is like one option. So after you allocate the transaction, you can use the revert and it will revert the transaction from your profit and loss statement. If it was rent payment that was allocated to a payment on your payment schedule, it will be also deleted from there. And you can then allocate it again. If the transaction is here by mistake, or you don't want to allocate it to any one of your properties or for some of the generic entities, then just click on the delete icon. And then you can decide if you just want to mark as deleted, and then it will just colored in red, but it will be still on your transactions page, so you can revert it back or delete permanently, and then it will disappear from your transactions page. So this is the way to manage and delete or revert the allocation of transactions. Okay, so let's go to the next topic. So how to manage transactions, the complex cases like split and more than one payment. So I prepared here like a few examples. So one, I received rent for £2,900, but this is the net rent that I received for my property manager. So I basically, this should show as two transactions, one income, the rent, and the second one is an expense, it's the management fee. So from the transactions page, I will click on the split transaction icon, and then I will get this window, and I will start splitting this transaction. So the first one will be income, rent. I will select the property. I can also allocate it to the tenant. And the actual rent is basically 3,200. Now, what I will do with the 300 as an expense minus this is basically the managing agent fee. And this is 300. Basically, I have one transaction of 2,900 that was split to one income of 3,200 and one expense of £300. I click split. Then I will show these two transactions now on the transactions page. I will click on allocate, and I will allocate this as well. Then if I go to payment schedule, one second. Let's select the property. I will see the transaction here, not as 29, but the transaction that I split, 3,200. And on my profit and loss page, I will see one income of the rent, and I will see also the expense of the fee. I should see it also on the reports. You can see the income, the rent, and the expense. So this is the way to split the transaction. Now, the second use case that I received 2 rent payments from Ben. And basically, so instead of paying, let's go to the payment schedule. Let's select Ben. So I'm expecting him to pay in the 1st of November, £1,000, but he paid in 2 different transactions, 2 different payments. So I'm going to the transactions and I return it from my bank account, or I edit them manually. So the first one arrived in November 8th. I click edit. I will choose the property. I think it's this property category. And I'm allocating it to Ben, the payment that he needs to pay in November. Okay, although it's just half of the amount, but I will allocate it to this payment. Click save and allocate. Then I will go to the payment schedule. So I can see that Ben paid 500 on November 8th, 7 days overdue, but he paid half. He still needs to pay the other half, and he paid them on November 15th. Okay, so what I do now, because I already allocated the transaction to this payment. So when I click on edit, when I edit the transaction and I select the payment, I will not see this payment. This is something that you can ignore that I defined before, but I have this option, add to paid payment. So I click on add to paid payment, and I can select the payment that I already allocated transaction to. And I can decide how I want to see it. If I want to create another payment row on the payment schedule, or I want to just add this 500 to the 500 I already paid. Let's choose this option. I click allocate. Then the color will be green, and on the payment schedule, I will see now that Ben paid the entire rent. Now, if I want to track the 2 different dates and I want to see the 2 different due dates, another option is to go back to the, let's go back to the transactions page. I will revert these 2 transactions. And let's allocate this again. And the second one, I will click add to a paid payment. I will select the payment, but I will tick this checkbox, create another payment row, and click allocate. Then on the payment schedule, I will see it in, let's delete this one, sorry. I will see 2 different rows. One is the original payment, it was paid 500, and then another row of 500, but the expected was 0. So it's just like a different way to see it. All in all, he paid what he was needed to pay. So if I would just select November, see that he paid everything, but the delay was for 500. The accumulated debt of this tenant is 0. All right, let's continue. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Aviram, just something that we need, that the users here are asking to mention that, and asking why sometimes Plaid is disconnecting their bank account. and you need to reconnect it again once you link your bank account.
Yeah, it's part of the rules that the open banking works. So like from time to time, you need to put your credentials again through the applied secured connection to your bank account. But I'm not sure like about the frequency, but we can check exactly what is the frequency that you need to reconnect. And the second scenario is when your password has changed or your credentials for your bank account has changed, then you will need to update the connection again. So you will get a pop-up when you log into Lendlord that will ask you to reconnect your bank account. Hope that answers the question. Okay, something quick, how to set up expense and income categories. So I will go to let's do it from the transactions page. You just need to click on the drop down. Let's do it on expense. Then you will see the predefined categories that were defined by Lendlord, but you can either change the names, or you can click edit, then you can change the name, you can change the color, or you can delete this category. You can add new category. Okay, so you can edit, delete, or add. So basically you can delete all the categories that were predefined by Lendlord and create your own categories as well, or tweak the current categories. The best place to review the breakdown per category, click manage, go to expenses breakdown, and here you can see the different transactions and the categories. So basically how much you spend on mortgage costs. If they're undefined, this is like the place to define the category. And you have the same for income. So you can income breakdown. Currently I have only rent. So this is available from the reports page. We also put like entry just for the expenses breakdown, just to make it easier. And you can also see it from your dashboard.
Aviram?
Yeah.
Quick question. Ashley is asking, what does file your tax return button do?
All right. So as part of Making Tax Digital reform that should be, I think, in 2 years-ish. So Making Tax Digital means that you, like landlords and other business owners, independent business owners, self-employed, you need to report their taxes every quarter in a digital way using a software. So Lendlord is integrated now with Untied, and Untied is a tax platform. So if you manage your entire transactions on Lendlord and your main business is property, then you can file your tax return using Lendlord. So just need to click on the file tax return. It's like this is another feature as part of our premium plan. So we need to subscribe to the premium plan in order to do it. But then after you click proceed, you will get a summary of your income and expenses, and then you click proceed. You will be redirected to Untied, but it will be from your Lendlord account. So basically you will see it here. The menu of Lendlord will remain the same. And with few clicks, you can submit your taxes, tax return to HMRC and receive confirmation. We have a recorded webinar for that. Perhaps we can share it with the webinar audience tomorrow. And we will do probably in December or January, like another webinar with Untied to showcase how you can do it. All right. Okay, last topic, and I think that I already covered it, is how you can review profit and loss statement. There are two places. One is the profit and loss page, so you can see it in a visual way. Here you have the buttons above the chart. So each button is a different metric. One is the cash flow, then the income, expenses. You can see the gross yield for the entire portfolio, or you can just select it for a specific property. The net yield, basically this will take the cash flow, the gross will take the entire income, and the cash on cash. Cash on cash, we calculate cash on cash is the net cash flow on your cash investment. So let's say, take this one. So I invested 104K and I generated this amount in November. So basically this is my cash on cash. In the entire 2022, my cash on cash was 17 cents. I wish, but just like fake data again. So this is the way to track it. So if you want to go back to previous years, you can do it from these buttons below the chart. And if you want to go metric by metric, you use these buttons above the chart. If you want to edit the monthly income, just click edit and you have this right sidebar, and the same for edit the expenses from here. But again, as I explained before, the best practice is to deal with all the transactions from the transactions page. All right, so I know that we crossed the time, but we can still be here for questions if there are more than answer.
One general question, Aviram. Sam is asking if you can use Lendlord for R2R SA or R2R HMO.
Out rent to rent?
Yes, rent to rent.
I will start with HMO. Yes, for HMO, definitely. So just go. So my portfolio, you can define your properties in HMO. This will be on the property details section. Then you can also track your HMO license due date and get notifications before. You can define number of units. And if it's a large HMO, standard HMO. So some details about the HMO property. Then on my tenants, you can define more than one tenancy per property. And you can also use the unit. Let's see if I have it here. In order to name the different units. So, and let's just like drag and drop this to. So, so if you have one, let's say one HMO with 6 different units and 6 different tenancies, or even 8 tenancies for 6 units, you can manage it from here. So just use the unit name, unit 1, and then you can define another tenancy on unit 1, and you can define unit 2, unit 3. So you can track the rent collection for all tenancies under one property. And then you just need to use the filters. So for instance, if this property is your HMO, just select this property and you will see here all the tenancies for this specific property and all the units that are under this property. So managing HMO is definitely feasible. In terms of rent rent, no, yes and no. So it's not predefined on the platform, but perhaps you can do some workarounds in order to manage that. So if you need to pay rent and receive rent, so you can play with the transactions, and like on the profit and loss, basically, you can do that. But the platform currently it doesn't support it. But we perhaps will do it like in the future. Any other question? You can, yeah, we can stay. Sorry, if there are questions, let's answer.
Yeah. No, there are no question. If anyone has a question, you can ask.
Yes. What about global portfolios? So portfolios, investments outside the UK in terms of currency conversions in different currencies. Is there any way you can incorporate that, obviously, to present them in the UK pound equivalents?
It's a good question. What you can do is just to put an address in a different territory, and then you will see it. For instance, if you use the map view on my portfolio, you will see your properties all over the world. But in terms of currency, we currently support only currency and we don't do conversions, but it's a good idea for a new feature. You can show your numbers. If you go to the settings page, you can just change the currency of the entire portfolio, the entire account. But we don't do the conversions from different currencies to GP. So basically, if you have a property in Spain, for instance, you just need to put the estimated amounts in pounds right now. So the platform will not do the conversion for you, but you can definitely put the address in Spain using Google Map. And then, for instance, if you want to see your portfolio on the map view, you will see also in other territories all around the world.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see if we have anything else. Other reminders for tax accounting and tax payments. Yeah, it's in the roadmap, and we are planning to do that. And the recording will be on our YouTube channel. And yeah, I thought we answered everything. All right. Okay, so thanks everyone, and see you in the next webinar. We will share the link for this recording. So thanks for joining, and feel free to reach out to the team using the chat. Before I forget, we just launched this week a new button, Become Partner. So basically, we allow users to be partners of Lendlord by referring other users or referring finance inquiries to Lendlord. It can be mortgage applications or bridging applications that can be applied online. And you can get compensation if you do it through Lendlord. So let's do it. Like if I can click Become Partner, then I will get tracking links. So just copy this link, and then basically this is your tracking and landing page tracked by your user, and you can send this to friends that want to sign up to the platform, and then you will see on your partner dashboard that you have the referred users were increased until you get your compensation. But if you want to just refer friends to use our bridging lender, for instance, so take your bridging, the tracking link of your bridging landing page, copy this. You can see on the URL that this link is being tracked under your user. And then if we get an inquiry, you will get your compensation. So it's a great way to help us to continue to grow, and also perhaps you can earn some cash referring users and financial inquiries. All right, so thanks everyone, and thanks for joining, and we'll see you in the next webinar hopefully. Thanks.